All right, this is episode 61. Welcome to the Yanagida Podcast Show, episode 61. I got a special guest. I got Carl Powell. Is that how we pronounce it? Powell?
Powell.
Powell. Yes, sir. So, Carl, welcome to the show. And I just got some people asking to get you on. So I'm really excited. So, Carl, how did you get started? I know I read a little bit about your yoga and some other stuff. And how did you get started in yoga?
Okay. How did I get started in fitness? I've been teaching fitness for 40 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started in San Francisco, 1980. Don't let me date myself. And I taught aerobics, and that's what I did. And it just all kind of, I went from aerobics to teaching hip hop dance. And then I traveled around the world and taught hip hop dance and opened fitness clubs. And then I was completely stressed out. I was 40 years old. And I had two businesses. I was running around Europe. I was selling things on QVC, making myself crazy. And I went to a yoga class and I meditated. And I thought, oh, I need to. So I moved to Maui. That's when I first moved to Maui the first time. And came here and studied yoga and Pilates and Tai Chi and Qigong. And pretty much that's become my life in the last 20 years. So.
Wow. So that's incredible. And so I'm really curious, and people are probably curious, when you first got into fitness, what did the fitness world look like back then? I mean, it must have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back then, there was a bunch of women running around in leg warmers and screaming in the class. But it was really awesome because what aerobics did for women was women never had a place to go and rejoice their body. And the aerobic thing, they got together and they felt good and they put their tight outfits on and they got up in front and they danced and they screamed, but they felt empowered. So I say the aerobics movement was more about empowerment for women. And then it turned into the fitness industry that we know right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And like you're a pioneer, Carl. You're a pioneer, 40 years.
40 years.
And you look great, man. You look wonderful. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And so like, how's like some of the nutrition stuff have changed as well? Because my mentors and people that taught me have mentioned like there's so many different nutrition advice in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And what are some of the big changes you've seen?
There's a lot of changes. In the beginning, like in the 1980s, we were looking for sugar-free, fat-free things, but we were doing those things not realizing that we're eating a lot of sugar in the process. So for a while, frozen yogurt was the fad and people ate all that and that was supposed to be good for you. Then we found out that was just loads of sugar and that wasn't good for you. Then people were doing carb loading and then they found out carb loading wasn't good for them. And then they went to whatever the next phase wasn't eating. And now there's paleo and keto. I just say nutrition is nutrition. One, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You can't do that. So you have to balance your diet and your exercise together. If you eat what your body needs, opposed to what you think you want, you'll feel better. It's just apples and oranges. If you want to feel great, eat what your body asks you to eat. You want to have what feels balanced to you. And everyone has a little bit different of a diet depending on your ethnic background. And you have to find a diet that you like. Because if you're forcing yourself out, you're always going to cheat and then you'll never win. No one ever wins when they cheat.
There we go. No one ever wins when they cheat. I like that. Yeah. Wow. And so what you're saying is like focus on the fundamentals and then the little things will change depending on the person's background and things of that.
Exactly what you like to eat. Because you have to have what you like to eat in your diet. And then you have to have things that you need to eat, like vegetables and all of those things. And then you have to have a little place to cheat, but a little plate, but it's not about, but you have to mostly find things that you like to eat. If you don't like what you're eating, you're going to go back to what I did isogenics for a while. And I loved it. I lost weight. It was great. But after 6 months, I wanted to eat. And I had a real hard time. So for some people, I see that works great. But for me personally, I prefer to balance my own food. So it's, what do you want to do? You can do a product like isogenics and you can complete and you'll be okay. But will you be happy?
That's the question. Will you be happy?
Yeah.
Wow. So for somebody just starting out, let's just say right now they want to lose 50 pounds, and they rarely eat any vegetables and fruits. So you would just recommend them to start with something that they enjoy, like vegetable wise.
What you enjoy vegetable wise, what you enjoy protein wise.
Yes.
And maybe that needs to change. I had a client when I first moved to Hawaii, and she ate 2 scoops of mac salad and 2 scoops of rice with her breakfast every morning, trying to lose 50 pounds. And she said to me, "You mean I have to throw all that off of my plate?" And I said, "Why don't we start with half?"
There you go.
Yeah. And if you go with, if half might just work. And she lost her 50 pounds. And
Wow.
it was just simply learning how to eat half of what she eats.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, control the portion and wow. And so I know you were mentioning earlier on your story about how you found yoga in the midst of all the chaos and busyness. What was the thing that attracted you to yoga the most?
It was the first time that I worked out from the inside of my body out. I was always working from my outside of my body in. And so when I did that the first time, my body had this major release. Like, ooh, I went someplace I'd never been before. And then I really wanted to explore it. I was like, ooh, it was a feeling of, that what you call the aha moment, where you just go, oh, I need to learn what this is. Excuse me, that's my trash man.
So, Carl, about the working from the inside out, what were we mentioning about the inside out, working with the yoga?
What I was saying is that when you work out for the first time from the inside of your body out, it's a very amazing experience because you've been so used to pulling your workout into you. And now you're pulling your workout out of you. And then it starts to make you think about the other things. That's how I got to meditation. Because before I did that yoga class, you could not have paid me to think about trying to meditate. But after I did the yoga class and it relaxed my body, my mind was open for meditation. So.
Wow. And so this was in Europe, you were saying, or you found yoga?
So I started in Germany. So I actually started teaching yoga in Germany. So
you've been around a lot of different countries and places. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when I was dancing. When I was dancing, I lived in Japan for 6 months, and
wow,
that was an amazing experience because I started teaching hip hop dance when there was no YouTube. So if you wanted to learn hip hop dance, you had to fly me to your country.
Wow.
Bring me in, and then I taught your instructors or I taught your clientele. So I did that for 7 years solid. Just traveling.
Wow. That's amazing.
And that was an amazing experience too. But when you travel, you're alone. And when you're alone, you get a chance to think a lot. You get a lot of your own thoughts.
Yes.
So I think that the travel really started to make me think a lot about life and what is important. You're away from the people that you know and you love. Yes, I'm learning and I'm growing, but I'm growing away from my norm. And that's out of my comfort zone.
I like that. Wow, this is some deep perspectives. I like it. I like it, Carl.
That's when you get old people on your show.
You're so modest about it. Oh my God. Now, I'm curious, what part of Japan were you in? Were you there? Tokyo side or?
I was in Tokyo, Nagoya, Yokohama.
Wow. Teaching hip hop dance.
Teaching hip hop dance.
Wow. That's incredible.
And by far, the Japanese people were the most obedient learners I'd ever encountered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That they would follow the instructions.
If I flicked my finger that way, they did it too. Attentive learners.
Wow. See, there we go. I mean, and I love what you said about the traveling and how you learned about yourself in that process. And well, so in that sense, do you feel like for the people listening, and maybe even myself, like to travel solo, for, I guess, kind of like an extended period of time, huh? So it wasn't like a week or two, it was like months at a time, it sounds like.
It was months at a time.
Months at a time.
And many times I was in countries where I didn't speak the language.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
But what a challenge that was. I mean, to move to Germany and have to, at what was I, 36 years old, learn another language to survive. But immersive, that was the best teacher, because I had to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So can you speak different languages a little bit, or?
I guess my Deutsch is nicht so good, aber bisschen Deutsch ist ganz gut. And I can get through. I speak a little bit.
That's
German.
so cool. That's so cool. And so Japan, you were there for 6 months, and in Germany, how long were you there?
7 years.
That was the 7 years.
Yeah, and I traveled through Europe the entire time. So I was based in Germany, but I went to Italy and Spain and Norway, Denmark, Finland, England, Scotland, Wales.
And that's when you were teaching the hip hop dance to these different. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. And timeline wise, this was the 80s, 90s?
So it was the beginning of the 90s. 93, I started to travel heavy. And I did that until 2000.
Wow. Yeah. And then 2000, you came back to the States?
I moved to Maui right after 9/11. So 2002, I moved to Maui.
Oh, and there we are. And then I always see the yoga, and I hear so many things. I'm like, oh man, this is so cool to know like the background and just like how it all started, Carl. I mean, because there's so much rich like experiences and just wisdom in this. So you've been here almost 20 years on Maui.
Mm-hmm.
And wow. I mean, that just in that 20 years, you must have seen a lot of changes.
A lot of changes. And I was here for 6 years, and then I went to the mainland for a few years. Then I came back. And that's when I noticed the biggest changes. Between 2004 and 2008, Maui went through a big transformation. The west side, anyway. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Huh. And during that period, were you teaching yoga the entire time, or?
So I worked at the Ritz-Carlton, and I taught yoga for the Ritz-Carlton.
Wow. So what is that like? Because I've always been curious, like, what is that like for the doing stuff with the hotels?
I love hospitality. I really do, for a lot of reasons. One, because I traveled the world. So it was so nice when people would come in from other places. You know, a German person would come in, and I would speak German, and just to see the look on their face, watch their whole face melt. Like, how did you know that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I love that part of the hospitality. And I love working for the Ritz-Carlton because you got a really good clientele of people. But then I kind of parlayed that into, I started working for the Aston groups. And so I had my yoga business in the Whaler and in Aston Kanapali Shore and the Papakea.
Oh.
So I was there for the last 6 years.
Wow. And then like, I know there's so many different types of yogas. I've only done, I think it was called Bikram yoga. What type of yoga do you specialize or love to share?
What I love to share is what I consider hatha yoga. It's accessible for people. I do a very gentle style. My approach is more about getting close to yourself, breathing, and then getting to the point where you're stretched and ready to meditate. But I really want to encourage all people to come into yoga. So my approach is, if this is your first time, a lot of people go into their first experience and it's horrifying because it's too hard and the teacher doesn't do it with aloha. They do, this is what I came in to teach, and this is what I'm going to do, whether you can do it or not. And I learned that people don't learn that way. And when you teach to the entire class, you can make the gentlest class interesting for everybody. And that's what I learned in the hotel, was I would get people that were 18, and then I would get people that were 80. And I was only going to see them 1 hour in their entire vacation. So how was I going to make that experience for them all good?
Wow.
And so I learned everyone needs to get close to themselves. And if you can bring people close to themselves, they drop off all of their expectations.
Mm.
Maybe they were coming in to expect to be 300 downward facing dogs. But if you get into the inside of them, they just breathe and they go, oh, I'm on Maui. I don't need to do all of that. I can relax.
Wow.
And so that was why I love doing that so much. But that was pre-COVID. Now I'm teaching in my backyard. So
Oh, there we go. Yeah, pre-COVID. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, when this whole thing is over, I got to take a class or something with you, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a garden and it's outside, so we have lots of room to move.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh, yoga. You know, Carl, I gotta say, man, you look wonderful. I know you were saying about like earlier on the podcast about the dating and all that, but man, you look so wonderful, and I can just tell like you're practicing what you're talking about, and you're living it. And so
I love teaching. When the pandemic happened, what I missed the most is I miss teaching. I miss the experience of giving, and I felt so locked up and pent up until I started teaching online, and all of a sudden I realized that was what all my anxiety was. My anxiety wasn't even about being on lockdown; it was just not being able to give, because I've been doing that for 40 years every day of my life, and to learn how to pause was difficult.
Wow. You know, and that's so interesting because like what you're saying about the pause. It's so interesting. I love asking different people like what their experience was with the COVID, the lockdown, and just kind of I guess a change of pace and change of world. And what would you say the greatest takeaway was for that? I mean, we're still in it, but the last year and a half.
The biggest takeaway is, if I could go back to 2019, pre-COVID, would I want to go back and be in that place where I was then? And the answer is a resounding absolutely not. I was working too hard again. I had a business now. I had other instructors. So now I was supervising other instructors who forgot they had the class that day, were 15 minutes late, forgot to take the roll. It just was, and I wasn't living yoga. I was selling yoga.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. And since I've been teaching from home and I'm working with my Zoom students, a lot of my students on Zoom have been working out with me for 17 years. So they've aged as I've aged, and it's just been a really amazing process, because now I'm really teaching to their soul because I know who they are.
Oh, 17 years. So like, are these people from different countries that you're able to connect with?
People who I've worked with when I was in Washington, D.C., people that I've worked with when I was in Washington State. I have a group of 20 people right now who are from all over the globe. And we meet and you know, and every now and then we get a new person, but then we get to know them. And my people they're going to ask you all the questions. If you came on, they'd ask you, where are you from? Where are you at? Because they're like that. They're a community, and they feel like a community.
Yeah.
If I can tell you anything, the most important thing I did, and that's what I love when I watch your business, because I stalk you on Instagram and Facebook, is you have a community. And that's where most people miss in the gym business. They try to build a gym, but they forget to build the community. The gym will go, but the community will always stay.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. The gym will go, but the community will stay. Yeah. And that's so true. And it speaks a lot about you, Carl, about like your just taking care of people, the hospitality, and just want to make sure that they got a good experience. And it's so cool. I can just feel it, like not even sitting it, like just virtually, that you genuinely care about others and want the best for them. And I really admire that. I mean, it's just incredible. Wow. Yoga.
It's even a little selfish, because you can help other people without helping yourself. I tell people that they are my therapists. When they come in and they tell me their problems, it melts right into I can't. My therapy is working with you, and it's very interesting. Me working with you helps you, but it also helps me, because I learn so much from you.
Yeah, look at that. I love that. Wow. This is why it's just so incredible. I think we got to get yoga, like just blow it up some more and, get it out there. Cause what you're doing, Carl, it just sounds so incredible. Have the community, especially with people 17 years. I've never heard of that. 17, I've heard 5 years, 10 years, but 17 years. Wow. And would you attribute that to the community?
It's the community, because even when I moved from DC and moved here, my community stayed together. I had tightly bound them together. We had dinner parties and pool parties, and it wasn't just about you coming to my yoga studio and working out. It was about us getting together and eating together and drinking together and being real together. And that created that community. And to this day, all of those people are still on my mailing list. I still get the most wonderful notes from them. It's paid off 50-fold.
Wow. Carl, this is just really incredible. I'm really enjoying this. And Carl, I was just curious for people listening, like, what would you say is like some passion projects or something on the side, or something that people don't really know about you that you do on the side?
Okay. So this is my newest project. My newest project is, last week I got accepted into the Amazon influencer program, which means congrats. I can have my own show on Amazon and I can sell products on Amazon. So let's say, for instance, you have a book, it's on Amazon. I can put it on my page and then go out to my social media and advertise your book. And then I get a kickback from Amazon and you get to sell your book.
Wow.
Yeah. So I also have an Amazon store. So anything that I have in my garden or anything that I wear, like this t-shirt, they're all in my Amazon store. And so what I've learned about being an entrepreneur is I used to only put out a few buckets and I depended on those buckets. What COVID has taught me is I have a lot of buckets. I have videos on demand on Vimeo. And yesterday I got a $68 check and I thought, see, that bucket's halfway full. And then I have my Amazon bucket over here. And then so you have to learn how to be diversified in this new world, because this world's different. People aren't going back to the office. This world has changed and we are responsible for the way that it changes effectively. So,
wow. That's so cool. Like about the Amazon, and I mean, congrats again on that. So
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and let us know too, anything that we can do to support you and support that project. Let us know. We're happy to help in any way.
Yeah. Hey, that's what it's about. Community. You build that community and you always have support. So I'm here for the same thing. If when I can do it without a mask, I'll come and teach a yoga class for your people and let them just experience that.
Yes.
Because I love those kind of things. But getting through this experience is just remembering you don't want to go back to 2019. You're going to be different. And you have all this time to think. Instead of getting depressed with the extra time you have, instead of getting mad that you can't be with the people you want or be where you want to be, take this time to use it to sharpen your pencil, to make yourself better. So when the world comes back, you're better than you were in 2019.
I love that. Sharpen the pencil.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. Carl, this is incredible. Like, I can't wait to, just do yoga and just see what it's all about and just connect more. And I just want to connect more with you. So, man, one of the final questions that we want to come down to, Carl, is when you hear of our slogan, fighting sickness with fitness, what comes to your mind?
It's exactly what I've been telling people my entire career. If you want to be well, it's mind, body, and spirit. But fitness is such an important part of it, because until you find your fitness, because you have to find what feels good to you, just like with what you like to eat, you have to find what exercise feels good to you. Don't take one exercise class and just say, okay, I don't like exercise because I didn't like that Zumba class. You have to find what fits you. And it's not a easy fix for is your individual need. And that's what curing your sickness is. If you have heart disease, you know you need to exercise, but you may not want to go to that Zumba class. What you might want to do is a chair yoga class, but chair yoga is still yoga.
Wow. That's powerful, man, Carl. See, this is why I think we're on the same frequency. This is good. This is good. So, Carl, it's a pleasure. Is there anything that you want to leave off our audience with? And where can we find you? Where can people find you as well?
So it's easy. My name, carlpowell.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that will take you to my Healing Garden website. And there's also my Amazon Healing Garden TV website where you can go and you can look at the products. And I always tell people, you shop on Amazon anyway, why not shop with Carl?
There we go. Why not with Carl? Right on. And is there any closing words, Carl? Anything you want to leave off the audience with?
I really appreciate you having me on. And really, for the audience, the most important thing to know is this moment is the most important moment of your life. Not what happened back here, not what you might think happens in the future. Live right now.
Oh, man, that's the mic drop. Boom. Live right now. Carl, it's been a pleasure, man. I can't wait to shake your hand and, just take a yoga class from you. And we'll keep in touch and we'll do everything we can to support your new passion projects.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to getting to know you better.
Right on, Carl. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you so much for coming on the Yanagida Podcast.
Happy Aloha Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday. Take care, Carl.
All right.